Hello, powerful change makers. This is Lorna Lee, host of Entrepreneurs for a Change, where we feature business change makers who are growing, thriving businesses that make massive positive impact while designing a life on their own terms. Now, I'm here today with Morgana Rae, who is a international best-selling author of the book Financial Alchemy, 12 months of magic and manifestation. She is a sought-after teacher, speaker, and pioneer in personal development, and she's widely regarded to be the world's leading relationship with money coach. So I'm very happy to have you here with us today. Morgana is going to share with us her 6 proven steps to becoming a money magnet that makes massive positive impact in 2015. And in her masterclass, she's also going to share with us her secrets to becoming a 6-figure guest speaker, which you can access at entrepreneursforachange.com/64. So welcome to the show today, Morgana.
Hi, very happy to be here.
I'm really happy to have you. So I'd love for you to share with us your entrepreneurial journey. Who are you and what inspired you to become a relationship with money coach?
Well, it's funny because it's not anything I aspired to or expected or anyone could have predicted. It's not anything I sought out. I started coaching almost 20 years ago, coaching in the entertainment industry. I've coached movie stars and directors and producers and award winners and some really big names. And I always had this sort of instant magic touch where someone without any credits would get a TV series or sell their film for $1 million and very unlikely things. So I had a great reputation, and I loved the quality of my relationships, and having that impact on other people's lives really fed me with great joy. But there was this area of my business that made me incredibly uncomfortable, and I was profoundly unsuccessful in, and that was charging. Helping people is easy and natural and feels good for me. Asking for money would bring up all this unconscious stuff, so I was really good at not getting paid. And it's funny because years later I would look back and see that people were actually trying to pay me, and and this is the key, I would unconsciously set up barriers. And that's actually a really important point, because on the surface, I was doing everything humanly possible to build a business and make a living. And I had the website and the brochures and the business cards and the tagline. And I had my coaching certification and my Ivy League education. And what else? I had my millionaire mindset and my vision board and my affirmations. So I was like working on the inside and the outside, working with a great coach, taking classes on marketing and selling and overcoming sales objections, and I was making $100 a month in Los Angeles.
Wow, goodness gracious.
It was devastating.
Uh-huh.
I remember one specific moment where, because I had just taken this great class on how to overcome sales objections, because I thought that would be the answer. So the overcoming sales objections is like, what do you say if somebody says, I can't afford you, or I don't have time, or blah, blah, whatever? You know, there are classes that will tell you what to say. And I'm such a good student that 7 people in a row, I overcame their objections, and they said yes, and none of them showed up, and none of them paid. And I gave up hope. Whereas my husband would say, that's like when the wheels came off the cart. I just lost it. And I remember being in the bedroom of my tiny little 1-bedroom apartment and pulling the drapes shut and getting on my bed, lying down and just screaming. I was in such pain and hurt and despair and rage, because if there was anything that could be done, I was doing it. I was a great student and I wasn't seeing the results, and it felt so unfair and painful that I really wanted to die. I didn't know what to do anymore. You know, the hope would build me up, and I would go out there and I would give it a shot, and then I would get knocked down, and it felt like I was living in a sadistic universe that was just messing with me and I didn't want to play anymore. That's where I started.
Mm.
And in this really dark place, I had a couple of thoughts. One was that money needed for me to be my next area of spiritual growth. Because I grew up much more comfortable with spirituality and helping people and being liked and all that kind of stuff. If I framed money as a spiritual quest, that was a way that I felt that I could take this on, because I love growth and I love evolution and spirituality. So it was my next area of spiritual growth, because I really couldn't help anybody on the scale that I wanted if I couldn't pay rent.
Mm-hmm.
The second piece was I also had this moment of intense curiosity, because on paper, I should have been slaying it. Ivy League education and all, testimonials and everything that I was supposed to do. On paper, there should have been no problem. So it was really weird that I had these almost superhuman powers to repel money. And I really wanted to know what was inside of me that was pushing money away, that couldn't be with money. And it was right after this inner shift that everything broke open and my life changed forever. I think I told you that even though I wasn't making any money, I was still working with a coach, which tells you a lot about me and my priorities. And I'm really grateful for that, because I had this fabulous coach and I'd been working with him for many months, and he could not figure out what was wrong, because I did everything I was told. But after I had this inner shift, it's like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. My coach had this weird, out of the blue, inspired, brilliant moment on our next call, like a day later. And he asked me a really weird question that changed the course of my life forever. And I'm going to share that question with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
If your money was a person, who would your money be? And as soon as he asked me that, because fortunately I was in so much pain and despair, and I was in that state, that the money that I instantly saw as soon as he asked me that was this big, scary, dirty, violent biker who caused fights and terrified me. And I never knew that I felt that way about money until that moment. Why would I know that I was scared of money? That doesn't make any sense. So you need it, right? Consciously, I had no idea that I felt money was scary, dirty, violent, and dangerous. So you can hear like some contempt and some fear. And the big thing was that this guy, this biker dude, tall, bald, the big sideburns, the white beater shirt, the tattoos, and I could see us at an event, and I would have my eye on him the whole time to create maximum distance. The guy, as soon as it became a person, felt so real to me. My invisible, unconscious relationship with money became conscious and visible, because I knew that I would always be paying attention to create distance. But I never knew that I was doing that with money until that moment. It all made sense. And one of my favorite moments when I coach clients, when we take them down to where they need to go to find a monster, a really big bad monster, their money monster, that is responsible for all this bad situation. They always tell me that for the first time their financial situation makes sense, because if that is my money, I can't afford to have it in my life because it's too dangerous. And I can only see that when I make it a person and it feels real. The other great thing about having money be a person is I have a lot of experience with people being a human being and having known and met a lot of people over the last many decades. So I know how to end a relationship with a person. I was able to get rid of the monster. By the way, this is really, really important because my friends, and I'm friends with a lot of the stars of The Secret and the leaders of Law of Attraction and really great teachers, and I failed, big L on my forehead at Law of Attraction. I did the vision boards, the affirmations, the positive vibrations, and I made $100 a month. So I need it to be really personal and specific. So when my friends talk about money as energy, money as a measure of value, money as a tool, all of that is true. But I don't know how to change my relationship with a tool or a measure of value or energy because it's all abstract. It's not real to me. Honestly, even money isn't real to me because it doesn't show, it's made up. It's a total arbitrary agreed delusion that one person's worth $5 and another person's worth $5,000. They do the same thing. It's just, we made it up. But people feel real. So I can get rid of a person in a way that I cannot get rid of like a field of energy.
So how do you reconcile this relationship with the person? Because when you describe the scary biker with the sideburns and like looking all violent and all, I'm like, gosh, like how do you deal with that? Do you date him? Or do you marry him, or make him go away somehow? So how does one reconcile?
Absolutely must make him go away. And in the last, I think, 12 years now, been doing it this long, I have coached thousands of people, and everything that I teach is based 100% on what I learned from coaching people. So none of this is theory. It's all, I would coach this back in the very beginning days, because after I changed my relationship with money, 4 people hired me the next day at double what I'd ever charged before, and they just kept coming in. I forgot to mention that.
Wow, that's okay. So that was fast.
That was ridiculous.
Oh my God. Okay.
We've gotten job offers while we were on the phone. And I've got more stories about that, but I know we have very limited time, and I really want to pack it with teaching. You must get rid of it. One of the early, for me with the biker, we just kind of broke up, and that was good for a few years. I don't coach that way anymore because I have found consistently that it works better. We're talking bigger money, like Carolyn Collins made $86,000 in 12 hours. Elliot and Malik made $87,000 in 6 hours. Lots of Laura Kane, $10,000 within 24 hours. And I have hundreds of these examples. I have trouble remembering them. But I learned that the bigger and badder the monster is, the better the results on the other side. So in the beginning, after I had my result, and I wasn't really sure what happened, I was getting all these clients, all these paying clients. It was fantastic, and everybody has money issues. So I tried what I did on them, and it would be okay, but it didn't have dramatic results in the beginning. We're talking 12 years ago. And so for 6 months to a year, I was just experimenting until I finally figured out what needs to happen to make it work. So one of the things, the monster needs to be horrible. The other thing is the monster needs to be completely removed. And that actually works best. And the funny thing is, my audience are the healers and the light workers of the world. I say kill the beast. Like, the bigger, the badder, the bloodier, the more permanent. We don't want any bloody bits left over. We don't want your monster coming back. So destroy it by any means necessary with lightsabers or flamethrowers or machetes or crossbows. One of my clients, these are all things that clients came up with. One of my clients ran over her monster with a monster truck.
Oh.
This is all imagined. imaginary.
Okay.
But you do whatever works. I don't care if you use pixie dust. If that works, atom bomb, whatever. There's a huge release of energy when you say, I am done with this and I do not accept this and I destroy you. And this is a place that us healers and light workers tend to not go. But it's necessary. It brings up the energy. And when the monster is gone for good, it creates an opening for a whole new kind of relationship with money. When I got rid of my monster, I had a big problem. I had just gotten rid of my relationship with money, and I live in Los Angeles. So I knew I needed something to fill that hole, that vacuum, before that monster or another one came back. So when all the bad is gone, all the hurt, the shame, the despair, the heartbreak, any trauma that you've had in your life, it's not about money. It shows up in your money situation, but the root cause is never about money. It's about anything that has made us feel unloved, unworthy, or unsafe. And being human gives us a lot of material.
Mm-hmm.
When all the dark is gone, that's why I call this alchemy. The alchemy is the transmutation of lead into gold. Once we've extracted all the lead, all that's left is gold. And that is the new person, the new money person, the money honey. And now you still have a money person, so it feels real, but it feels completely different and yummy and sexy and romantic, because again, I've coached thousands of people. And I found that the romantic money honey is what gets the results. That beautiful, uplifting way we show up when we're in love. In the very beginning, I used to let people have like dogs and cats and horses and things as their money honey, but they weren't getting the dramatic results until money was showing up as like Viggo Mortensen or Johnny Depp or Jennifer Aniston, and because that just does something for us as human beings. Erotic love is very alive, it's very life-affirming, and it kind of heals all those little broken bits inside of us. And then we have a life partner who we love. Even, this is also really, really important, the love and affection we feel is not predicated on cash. Because as soon as it's about cash, you're back in a money monster relationship where you feel frightened and scarce. But when it's about love, and we're feeling expansive and powerful, and we're kind of sitting on the couch next to our money honey, taking a look at our financial situation and going, okay, what should we do? Then you can have a conversation and you are empowered, and that's a money honey relationship.
Wow, this is a really novel approach that I've never encountered before. But it seems really fun, and it certainly seems like anyone can do this. Okay, so we're getting ready to dive into 2015 and have it be the most abundant year of our life, and hopefully we'll keep moving that bar as the years go by. So it sounds like the first step is to identify the money monster and slay that beast, and then invite in the money honey and have a juicy, romantic, intimate, loving relationship with your new money honey. Is that
absolutely
an good understanding of that?
Yes, and I actually broke it down to, you kind of took it and put it into 2 steps. I break it down into 6 steps.
Okay.
6 steps. I'll give you 6 steps.
Awesome.
The first one is uncover the root cause, and this is for me. When I'm coaching people, this is the biggest part of the journey, is really digging deep to find the biggest pain. It's not about the money story, and you also don't have to do it perfectly. We just need to get enough, like a critical mass. So really looking at over your life when you have felt unworthy, unloved, or unsafe, and fortunately for me, in the moment when I had my first transformation, I was in that deep, dark place of despair already. So it was already present. Life wasn't worth living. And so the first step is uncover the root cause, whatever has made you feel not good enough. Second step is personify the cause as if there's some evil puppet master who's been behind every painful thing that happened in your life or the world. Now that my life is pretty fantastic, I find new money monsters pop up when I see world events that I think are really unjust, and that affects my experience of life and my relationship with living and existence in the world. So when I see 200 little girls kidnapped, that becomes the seed of a new money monster for me. So this is like, you can look at your own personal experience, but there are also things out in the world that make power and money and life feel unsafe. So step 2 is personifying the root cause as the monster. Step 3 is getting rid of the monster. Step 4 is needing your money honey, which can only happen really on a real level when the monster is gone. A lot of people like to skip to the money honey while there's still a monster, and the bed is not big enough for the 3 of you.
I love that.
But you will not actually hear the money honey if there's a money monster there, because that's the money monster's job, is to get in between you. Step number 5 is having a conversation with your money honey. That's the fun thing about it being a real feeling human being. So when I got rid of my money monster and I thought, well, who could I want in my life so much that I'd be willing to have this person in my life even though it's money? Because the last relationship was so abusive, I was afraid to have a relationship with money at all. So it had to be somebody so wonderful that I could have a relationship with this person even though it's money. And what popped up was Mr. Tall, dark, handsome, romantic, young man in a tuxedo and a bouquet of red flowers who loved me. So that's step 4. Step number 5 was I realized how much he wanted to be with me. I could feel it. I could feel it in my heart. It was really surprising. And I asked him, this is a really good question, by the way. I asked him, what do you need from me so you can stay with me? And why that's a good question is it gives you the power in the relationship because you have the body. The action and the power in the relationship is always with you. So we don't sit on the couch waiting for our money honey fairy to live our lives for us. That's somebody else's program. This is where you are this active agent of change in the world, and your evolution evolves the world, and you now have a partner who you can talk to about it. What do I need to learn here to release myself from the struggle? Money, I'm feeling anxious. What do you want me to do so I can feel less anxious? These are all the kinds of questions that you can have. That's step number 5. And then step number 6 is you take action. Physical, measurable, concrete action. Because positive thinking is great, yay. But if you want to have physical results in the world, you have to take physical action because that's how it works. It lets you and the world know that you're serious. It just changes things. There's a magic in taking concrete action. And some of that action may be really weird and not make sense, which is my favorite stuff. I've had like a client, her money told her to get a pedicure and then she receives $2,000. I had a client whose money honey told her to stay home and do laundry instead of go on a trip that weekend, and she stayed home, got a call, and a $20,000 client. You just need to learn how to have such a real relationship that you can have that back and forth. And that, I would say, is probably the trickiest piece of all, because it's challenging enough to have a relationship with a human being. But this is an imaginary person, and so it's very easy to forget. So I've created structures to help people stay in relationship with their money honey. That's actually why I wrote my book in the first place, Financial Alchemy, 12 Months of Magic and Manifestation, was a guidebook to keep you in relationship with your money honey every single day for a year, because I needed that for myself. I actually wrote the book for myself first, and then other people wanted it and started getting really great results. So then I published it, and it went to #1 in 4 countries, including Germany, even though it's only in English, and then #2 and 3 in France and Italy. It's a global thing.
Wow, this is really fascinating. So, this process that you have developed seems like it should work for everybody. But do you think there's just some folks that are destined to struggle with money? Because I mean, I've seen some folks in my life that seem to have chronic money issues, and I don't know. I'd love to help them. I don't know how to help them. I don't know why have been able continue to struggle for so long. And I wonder, whether there's something in them that just the switch won't flip. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I don't believe that anything is for absolutely everybody, and I'm okay with that. And I'm always whatever works for you. What I have found, though, personally, is the people who are in the most fear and anxiety around money are the people who will have the easiest time with this process. Because the stakes are so high, and sometimes we just need stakes to be that high to be able to change. When I led my most recent retreat, my Money Goddess retreat in Bali, one of the women at the retreat came from a foreign country, meaning not U.S., came from a European country, had zero in her bank account, and was risking everything in her life, including homelessness, to be there. Which is one of the reasons that it has been such a powerful and successful experience for her, that when she came back empowered. She's in action. She's doing things that she hadn't been doing for years. And she has a home and she has a future. But this is somebody who had been told her whole life that she was never going to get better. And she was even told that if she did my retreat, it wasn't going to work on her, and she would come home and be just as paralyzed as before. And she was told that by a former coach. So my experience is that it works for the people who want it the most, because those are the people who go deep, and it's like a slingshot. The farther you go into the root cause, and the more you feel it, because it's not an intellectual exercise, those are the people who have the best results on the other side. Again, I've coached thousands of people. Anyone that I've personally coached has had success with this. I don't know about the people who do it on their own. I get emails on an almost daily basis from people having positive results. And I think you just have to go with your gut. If this makes sense to you and feels right, then this may be a good thing for you. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. And just trust your own intuition and find your path.
One of the things that I see commonly come up, and when you mention your retreatant, that's a perfect example, because as business owners, we all know that our businesses need investment, and that we as business owners, we deserve to invest in ourselves, in our knowledge, our business strategic knowledge, but as well as in our personal growth and support. So every entrepreneur that I know that is successful and kicking butt and taking names, they regularly work with at least one coach, possibly even more than one coach. I know, a couple folks I know are like working with 5 coaches, 7 coaches. I mean, okay, these 2 ladies are 7-figure entrepreneurs, so they can have the coach for like the relationship and for the business and for the child relationships and things like that. But for folks that that feel that they're at the edge, that they've got $2,000 in their bank account and it's all accounted for, $900 in their bank account and it's all accounted for, or, are on the verge or are in debt and need to pay off that debt. How do you encourage them to really break through that block? Because it actually isn't so much a matter of whether or not they genuinely have the money. Like some people actually do have the money. They've got a savings account, but they just don't want to break into it because it's savings and they, are not generating cash flow. So how do you work with folks on that?
Yeah, and their money monster is telling them, whispering in their ear, in their own voice, that they'll never make it back.
Yeah, or they'll just crash and burn if they make that risky step.
And maybe they were burnt by coaches in the past. I know I've had some really terrible coaches. And no, we're not supposed to say that, but I've had some really terrible coaches. And I've also had coaches who, like the one that I talked about with this relationship with money, who is, my life wouldn't be where it is today without him. And then I hired dating coaches, and now I'm 45 years old. I finally figured out to start asking my dating coaches for advice. And this year I'm married 11 times in 11 countries to the same guy, which is, wow.
That's what? You had 11 marriage ceremonies?
Oh, yeah. Not only did I not...
That's so romantic.
With the love of my life. And the guy that I ended up with, he proposed to me while I was in Bali, and he was on assignment in South Africa over Skype, and we just eloped. I didn't feel like I needed a wedding. And then we were on our honeymoon in Mexico, walking by a cathedral, and he said, "Hey, you want to get married again?" So we ducked into the cathedral, took off our rings, exchanged our vows. I'm crying.
Aww.
We kiss. People in the pews are going, "Congratulations." And we run out of the cathedral, and we're like, "Oh my God, we have to do this everywhere." And when we got home, he threw up a website and a project for 100 weddings in 100 countries. So 11 so far, and he was knighted in one of them. We would go to countries, and some of these countries would just throw us weddings. I'm the girl who said, "Oh, I don't need a wedding. I don't need a dress. I've none of it." I've now had a bunch of weddings with castles and costumes and huge wedding parties of like San Marino. I think 40 people threw us this painstaking medieval reenactment wedding with the castle and the music and everything, and Slovenia and Croatia and all these, Bosnia, all these countries. We just got married, and we still have 89 more to go. So
wow. Oh my God. So that's such a great story. I'd love to chat with you more about that.
By the way, to tie this in with the money monster.
Yeah. Okay.
Before I met my husband, I did the same process, but I made it a love monster.
Oh, interesting.
So it actually is related.
Wow. Okay. And so can you share with us real quick about how, after you did that process, how did he come into your life? How did you meet him?
Online.
I love it. Oh my God. There's hope for online dating. Thank God.
Totally. And I used to be the worst person at online dating. 50% of the people for years, 50% of the guys would stand me up on the first date. They would pursue me. They hadn't even met me yet. And I just had to learn how to become much more ruthless and much less. You really just trust my gut and not schedule dates who are not a full body yes. And learn how to write a profile that would appeal to the exact kind of guy that I wanted. And I got the exact kind of guy that I wanted.
Wow, that's interesting. My profile is really... Huh?
And I was already 45.
Wow, that's so inspiring. So my profile is really long. Primarily, it's kind of like an internet marketing long form letter to attract a very specific guy and be not at all attractive to anyone else.
Good.
So very few people actually come through, but I find that the people that do come through are really cool. Did you do anything like that? Is yours short or long? Or was yours short or long?
Actually, it wasn't about I think that after I sat down with my friend Adam Galad, we sat down. I taught him about relationship with money, and he gave me some tips on my profile. And he said that female profiles tend to be all about me, 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 and what I want. And to the boy brain, that just sounds kind of demanding and whiny, even though it's not. And then the typical guy profile is like, I've accomplished this, and that kind of sounds sort of braggy to us, even just because men and women are so different. So to communicate with the boy brain of my ideal guy, he says, write down who he is, who I am, and paint a picture of our life together. So
I love that.
Said something like, because it's been a few years, but something like, you're the smart guy who gets the girl. And I said something like, and I'm the sexy brainiac your parents will love. And this is my top secret fantasy for the two of us. I wake up in your arms in Italy, India, or Prague, and we make love. And then we go to a museum or a marketplace, or we just get lost and we live like that for months. So I attracted Travel Guy. And that's what we're doing.
Wow, that's so awesome. So thank you for that. So going back to the money conversation, because as is a business podcast. So let's say you have somebody that is going through just like a whirlwind of loss and difficult circumstances, and that's creating a lot of fear about the future. How do you go about changing a relationship with money around that? Because that's usually when people need it the most, but it can feel like a downward spiral.
Yeah, that is the best moment. That's the moment that I was in. That is the best moment, because we want to get into that state for step number one. The hardest people to coach are the people who are like, oh, my relationship with money is fine, I just want to make some more. Then we have to dig a lot deeper. And by the way, I have attracted clients who make 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures. And their pain is that they're afraid of losing what they have, or they've become the bank in all of their relationships, so they're being exploited and they're lonely and they're not loved, or they're just working so hard their relationships are suffering. So this is, by the way, what happens when you have a lot of money, but you have a money monster. But the people who are the easiest to change are the people who are in that state of desperation, because they are motivated to do whatever it takes. So they are the ones who, it's like their monster is the most visible to them, or the most easy to access. And the changes can be so fast, it blows my mind. By the way, on this most recent retreat in Bali, one of my women made either $10,500 or $11,500 that week while she was with me, while I was coaching her. Yeah, pretty nice. And I told you about Carolyn Conant. There's also Lynn Swanson. She did my exercise, and her money honey told her to transfer money from one bank account to another. Now, her situation was she could not even make payroll. She was owed tens of thousands of dollars by all these clients who she had been billing for months. None of them were paying, and she was out of ideas. She didn't know, she was so broke she couldn't even pay her employees. So in that state, she took on the money monster, and she destroyed the money monster. She met her money honey, who looked like John Travolta in the white suit, which seemed very silly. So she kept trying to see him in a different suit, but he wanted to wear the white suit. And as soon as I heard that, I knew she got it, because this guy was so real. He had his own personality, and he had a sense of humor. But it was also gave like the worst advice ever. She says, okay, what's the solution? What do you want me to do? He says, I'll transfer money from this account to another, which does nothing. But she did it anyway, because that's step number 6. So the next morning, she goes to the bank, she transfers the money, she gets into the car, she turns on the radio, and it's the Bee Gees singing Saturday Night Fever. Like John Travolta in the white suit. And on the way back to the office, she stops to pick up coffee for the people in her office. And while she's standing in line, she's on her smartphone checking her email like we all do. And she gets an email from a client who was invoiced that day, who is wiring everything, big 5-figure, tens of thousands of dollars back that day. Money that was not due for another like 45 or 90 days was wiring that day, which was going to cover payroll and her debts and a little bit more.
Wow.
And she looks, but wait, she looks at the timestamp on the bank deposit slip, and she looks at the timestamp on the email, and the difference is 2 minutes. And I know what you're thinking. Why did it take so long? I'm still working that out.
Wow! That's so fascinating. Gosh. Well, I could keep hearing exciting stories about the breakthroughs that your clients have been making. But we're about at the end of this segment, and I'd love to leave you with my most favorite question that I'd like to ask change makers, especially thriving, abundant change makers like you. What do you think, Morgana, is the most effective way to change the world?
Change yourself. And I would be shocked if every person you've interviewed hasn't said that. It's all we can change is love yourself is number one, because when we love ourselves, we are good to others and we have love to give to others. And loving yourself is the first step of having integrity. And our integrity impacts the world. Our self-love gives permission to others. Our self-acceptance of all our little broken off weird bits gives permission to others. The people who are polluting and destroying the planet are operating from a place of fear. Even though they have billions of dollars, they are living in fear, because people who harm others do not love themselves, and that is a fear-based activity. So really the way to change the world is to start with ourselves, because we are the microcosm of everything.
Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. And I'm really looking forward to discovering your secrets to becoming a 6-figure guest speaker, which you'll be sharing on our masterclass at entrepreneursforchange.com/64. Now, how can we best stay in touch with you, Morgana?
Well, I have a free 4-part video gift at moneymagnetvideogift.com. And so that will send you 4 videos, and it will also bonus you a place on my VIP list where you will get my best tips and my resources and my freebies and my invitations to be part of my alchemy family. So that would be my recommendation.
Love it. Thank you so much, and you have a beautiful day.